Welcome back. Well, with its toughening stance on Iran, how is France's foreign policy changing? New President Nicolas Sarkozy seems bent on a break with the Jacques Chirac past. He spent time with President Bush during a summer holiday in America, and aspirations to improve the partnership didn't stop there. Mr. Sarkozy stressed that European defences aren't meant to rival NATO, and it's even been suggested that he's steering France towards rejoining the alliance's military command, which it pulled out of more than 40 years ago. On the other hand, he stated firmly that France remains hostile to and opposed to the war in Iraq. Unlike the States, he's also against Turkish membership of the EU. Joining us again, our guests in Paris, François Géret, Professor of Strategic Studies at the Sorbonne in Paris and Chairman of the French Institute of Strategic Analysis. From Washington, Claire Lopez, Vice President of the Intelligence Summit and former Executive Director of the Iran Policy Committee. And from Tehran, Saeed Leylaz, an Iranian political analyst. Professor Géret, it's a rather dramatic break we're seeing from Jacques Chirac. What sort of path is France hoping to cut for itself?
Well, again, we are in a situation where it is traditional for a new French president to make sure that the relationship with the United States are in very good shape, and to initiate his mandate with the best relationship possible. It was the case of Jacques Chirac when he began his mandate. And if you remember, in 1996, France was considering reintegrating the military structure of NATO, but with several conditions. Those conditions were not met, and therefore it didn't happen. But
is that going to happen now?
Even I think that it will depend on the evolution of the perception of the role of NATO by the United States themselves. If you look at 1996 and now 10 years later, the situation of the world, the engagement of NATO all around the world are completely different. 10 years ago, we were just considering limited operations in the Balkans. Today, we are de facto acting together in Afghanistan. We are considering cooperation, and we are cooperating in the Red Sea. We are conducting counter-proliferation activities in the area, and that's a complete different picture. We are working together in the fight, maybe not the war, but at least in the fight against international terrorism. And that's the reason why France wants to make a clear political statement about the reality of its cooperation inside NATO and its cooperation with the United States.
Let me bring in Mr. Leylaz here. Mr. Leylaz, as France gets closer to the US, what impact will this have on the region?
The impact will be that France has been one of the best Iranian economic partner in the world since past more than 1 decade. And because of this very tough policies and pressures, Tehran is changing its attitude and direction to the east. 15 years ago, for example, the number of mutual commerce between Iran and China has been $200 million US. But this year, only after 15 years, less than 15 years, this amount is 100 times more. I mean, this is the $20 billion US for year 2007. And from technological point of view, from economic point of view, we are relying on, first of all, China, secondly, India, and thirdly, Russia. And everybody knows that if the direction of economy of a country has moved and has changed from one side to other side, it will not very easy to come back again. Frankly speaking, Europe is losing its first class situation in economy of Iran because of these disputes and because of this tension.
Okay, let me call Mrs. Lopez in here. Mrs. Lopez, we're seeing a bit of a chill between France and Germany, looking at the bigger picture here now. How is that going to resolve, and are we likely to see France becoming the closest buddy with the US over and above Britain?
Well, obviously, a close working relationship with France is valued and important for the United States. And the shift that appears to have occurred in their willingness to face and acknowledge the risk of Iran's terrorist regime in the Middle East region is of course welcome. I don't necessarily see that we would value the relationship with France over that with Germany. We would like to see our European partners functioning together and seeing eye to eye on this issue as much as possible. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the recent announcement by the Netherlands that they too are now willing to consider European sanctions against Iran in conjunction with France and Germany and others as well who would be willing to join in if the United Nations does not impose or implement effective sanctions. This is all welcome to the United States. A close working relationship with all of the countries in the European Union is much valued by the United States.
Professor Jazeera, very briefly, please, because we have run out of time. What are we likely to see France doing as far as its relationship with Turkey is concerned? We know that they're dead against Turkey joining the EU.
Well, as you know, initially President Sarkozy had in mind to stop the process of Turkey joining the EU. And then he decided to allow that process to continue because there are so many issues which are controversial inside the EU. He thought it was not an issue and there were no reasons to speak on that. In addition, it is clear that if we want to have a settlement of the situation in the Middle East, settlement of the situation in Iraq.
We're going to have to leave it there because of the sound. Terribly sorry about that. That was Professor François Jazeera, and in Washington, D.C., Claire Lopez, and in Tehran, Syed Leilaz. Thank you all for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. We welcome your comments and suggestions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Goodbye for now.